On this episode of Hip Hop Now Podcast, the Get Down Part 2, my review on ShadowLeague.com, my initial impressions of the new Kendrick album entitled Damn, and my review, another review of the rap battle between Av and O-Red. But let's get right to the business.
Read these headlines. This album must be gone. This album must be gone.
Classic album.
Come to Hip Hop Podcast.
What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast designed to catch you up on all things hip-hop music and culture that happened throughout the week. I appreciate everybody who's listening, but please know that this podcast is available everywhere you are. That includes iOS, Android, apps like Stitcher Radio and TuneIn Radio, and Podbean, and also SoundCloud.com/hiphoppolitic, where the hop and the politics share the P, but more importantly, on your hip-hop radio station on the internet, the number one hip-hop uncensored radio station, Death Star Radio, DSR.FM, Hip Hop Now Podcast in Vegas, World INC. We are reunited, or united, or you get what I'm saying. We formed the alliance, not like Power Rangers. I grew up with Voltron, that's what I do. Netflix series is hot too. But let's get right into the business, though. AZ says finally he's ready to roll out Do or Die 2. At this point, he is putting the finishing touches on the long-awaited sequel to his debut album, which is also, I believe, is supposed to be his last album before he retires from rapping altogether. Now, this has kind of been in the works for a minute. Honestly, I have no idea what's going to be on there, what it sounds like, but it's highly anticipated for me on the low. Now, when it comes to the original Do or Die, I liked it a lot, but I felt a lot of what I liked about it also had to do with the pairing of Nas and AZ. This takes nothing away from AZ at all. I'm just saying that a lot of what was dope about that album was their pairing, on a number of tracks, from Ho Happy Jackie, even though that was AZ rhyming, but, just having Nas there, that whole team, and especially the standout track, More Money, More Murder, More Homicide. Sugar Hill was dope. Rather Unique was dope. AZ had some joints. I might actually listen to that today. It's feeling like that kind of day. So we'll see what happens with Do or Die 2, but I'm definitely one of the people who are looking forward to it, really, to be honest. I just want to say this real quick. Shout out to hiphopdx.com, allhiphop.com, and a couple of other places where I get these stories from that I read to you, and, I give my perspective on them. Let's keep it moving. Joe Budden claims part of Nicki Minaj's success comes from the luxury of being the only female MC. I'm not really going to get into too much detail with that besides my opinion. I agree to a certain extent. I believe that headline is a little misleading because of the fact that she's not the only MC, Rhapsody, but on a mainstream level, for a minute, she was, especially when it comes to African-American female MC. She was the only one, and honestly, she wasn't really a complete representation. I'm not just going to call her whack. That's opinions for anybody. I don't like it. I don't buy it. I don't buy her music. But I can't say she's just completely garbage, because I've heard early Nicki Minaj that was more to my liking. It's just that the one that signed to Young Money and the one that we're used to seeing all the time is more concerned with that pop life more than anything. So it's hard to say, man. It's really hard to say. But again, if you don't know, Rhapsody is out there. So Let's let's pay attention to every female MC out there in the game. Joey Badass last week released his album All American Badass. I loved it. I've been listening to it every day, and I am not exaggerating. Every day I've been enjoying it. The album cover's dope. The records are dope. The production is dope. Some songs may not be for everybody, but that's okay. That's okay. That is life. Not everything is for everybody. I hate Dwight Howard. You heard it right here first. I'm pretty sure there's some people out there like, nah, Dwight Howard ain't whack. Yeah, he's not whack. I just don't like him. So, but Joey Badass, that album is pretty crazy. All American Badass. I am extremely happy that him and Kendrick didn't drop the same day, because if you know the internet, you know Twitter, you know Instagram, you know all these places where if Kendrick dropped when Joey Badass dropped, nobody would have paid that much attention to Joey Badass's excellent effort with this album, as much as he deserved. Not saying that some of those people were going to check him out anyway, but, people like me and others who dig him but maybe aren't on the cusp of everything he does, you would have never known, because you would have been drowned out with all the Kendrick hype, which has began. And let's talk about that real quick. I had the album a little bit early, like a couple of people did. I listened to it once, right? Kind of a quick gym test. I'm going to say I like it, but I'm not going to go into too much detail as to why. I like my initial impressions is that I like it. Why? I'm getting a vibe of a Good Kid, Mad City mixed with a To Pimp a Butterfly. When I say that, production wise, it falls a little bit more along the lines of Good Kid, Mad City, and lyrically in some cases. But that conscious part of Kendrick that was very apparent in To Pimp a Butterfly is all throughout this album. And it looks like, of course, obviously it's a concept. Some people kind of beefed over the cover, saying it was kind of bland compared to what he's done before. The guy who did the cover art, can't remember his name, was saying that he wanted something brash and abrasive, and to disrupt things. And the fact that people feel like, oh man, he should have did that, that's being disruptive. You may not agree because you just have an opinion that you don't like it, but honestly, sometimes the simplest covers can say so many things. Sometimes it's the details that you have to pay attention to. It doesn't have to be outright in your face. Sometimes you have to pay attention to the details of something that looks normal that might not be normal in the context of the whole concept. So once I get that all out, I'll definitely put my opinion out there, whether it be in video form or whether I write something about it. But we'll get to the Kendrick. But my initial impressions of the Kendrick album is he's 4 for 4. Let's just say that. Nas album done, remember that? And then it didn't come out last year. Well, the word on the street directly from Nas is the album's done, but it's not quite ready. But we've been reassured that the album will release, which is his 12th album, will release in 2017. Now, who knows? That might be summertime, that might be fall, winter, who knows? But it may be, it may be what it is. And I think we have some quotes here. Let's see. What do we have here? For sure. When asked if the album would see a 2017 release, he added the caveat that it's not done until it hits the streets. So, the album ain't done. Sorry, Khaled. The album ain't done yet. The record was dope, but it's not done until it's done. And honestly, I don't want anything that's going to be rushed out to the public because people are thirsty for some new Nas. But I do appreciate the fact that this will possibly be a year where we've seen a new Kendrick and a new Nas album in the same year. Because remember, Life is Good released in the same year that To Pimp a Butterfly did, which is pretty dope. Just Blaze says Timbaland and Pharrell beat battle is in the works. You may not like some of their music, but this could be very interesting on the beat side. Honestly, I like Pharrell a lot. I like a lot of Pharrell's beats, especially beats that he's made for the clips. Don't sleep. He got some hip-hop beats. Don't sleep on them hip-hop beats. But I think Timbaland, it has so much of a range when it comes to beat making. He might surprise some of us. Am I going to tune in to watch it or whatever? I probably won't. I'm just being honest. I probably won't, because a lot of times these things happen and the brother's busy, you know. But I will be interested to see how things play out, fan reaction, whatever. Let me know from you in the comment section. Do you even care, or do you prefer just beat battles from the producers that you care about, like Pete Rock versus Primo, or even like the Just Blaze and Swiss Beats beat battle? And honestly, with that beat battle, the best thing was like, oh, we heard an unreleased Nas record featuring Jay-Z and Kiss and DMX on the hook, which sound crazy. Speaking of new music, Styles P and Talib Kweli released a joint album together entitled The Seven, and it's 7 tracks deep. Again, my impressions, I haven't really got a chance to sit with it. You know what I'm saying? I got to sit with it. I got to ride with it to work, or I got to do like a 2-hour workout or something where I could really listen to it. But initially, it's exactly what you think it is. So maybe Kendrick is in your bag. Maybe Joey Badass isn't really your speed. And maybe you want that boom bap with some conscious, but kind of some hardcore conscious lyrics. I think they got you covered, man. It's 7 songs, but overkill is not always the best thing, and I appreciate them for doing something along these lines. Now let's get into it, because it's not many stories. It's kind of like a lot of the stories revolve around some of the same stuff. But let's get right into my review of the Get Down Part 2. Now, if you don't know, I also write. Go to shadowleague.com, shadowleague.com, and you can check out my article where I reviewed the Netflix series The Get Down Part 2. Now, it's not called Season 2. They're calling it more of a Part 2 because it's more of a direct continuation of the first part from last year, 2016. And it takes place literally 1 year after the events of the first part. So you're still in the 70s. It's 1978. And a couple of things have changed. You know, the Get Down brothers are kind of rocking stages. They got their little spot where they get to rock out. They have their own Get Down spot, basically, where people come and party and listen to them perform. And, they on the underground scene. They rocking it hip-hop style. And then you have the lead characters, Ezekiel, who's also known as Books, whose girlfriend, Marlene, you remember her, the disco queen chick, her career, getting a record deal and them trying to make her the next Donna Summers, the next queen of disco. And it kind of follows the Get Down brothers, and it also follows her career. Now, I'm going to tell you like this. I mean, you can read my review because I definitely made sure to put these points in there. But because you're here with me, you get the extra. You get the extra, stuff that some of the details that I didn't really feel like writing in there. That's more I covered what needed to be said about this show versus what this podcast and what I do here, where I kind of dive a little deep and it's a little bit more freestyle. But I'm going to warn you, if you haven't seen Part 2 yet, it's good, but it's good for a different reason from Part 1. Part 1 was way more about and focused on telling the origins of hip-hop, the state of New York City and the Bronx at the time, the state of music as disco was the sound at the time, and this new art form, this new culture was starting to rise from the Bronx. Not necessarily rising to the mainstream, but kind of, brewing under the underground. You know what I'm saying? And how many people weren't really feeling it because maybe they was into their disco bag or whatever. This part of the Get Down doesn't focus on that. It doesn't focus on that solely. Hip hop and its progression is still there, but it's more background. Disco and its inevitable death is also still there. But it's all background. What they decided to do, which I think was excellent on their part, was to focus more on developing the characters. Because I felt the first time around, I was kind of looking for hip-hop Easter eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, there's Grandmaster Flash. Okay, there's the first scratch. Okay, there's the first party. Okay, there's the birthplace of hip-hop. Oh, there's Africa Bambaataa. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was focusing on all these things that I know needed to happen in order to tell the story of the origins of hip-hop. Whereas with this, it's like we're focused on these characters and their roles in the culture. You know what I'm saying? And their lives, period. Like, who are they? What are they actually dealing with? And when it begins, it kind of feels like, wow, they doing a thing, but dudes are smoking weed, drinking beer, liquor, hard alcohol. I think I saw somebody sniffing coke. I'm pretty positive I saw somebody sniffing coke. Remind you, these supposed to be kids. And what I like about that, that's real. Honestly, that's real. Like, there's some people who will look at that and be like, oh, these kids are drinking and they're smoking reefer and they're sniffing coke. Oh my God, what kind of hip hop is bad? It's like, no, they also live in the ghetto. This dude he not even with his parents. So let's talk about that. He's a foster child. Let's talk about that. They're in the ghetto. His room is like adjacent to the kitchen, which is basically he sleeps in the living room and has like a sheet up as a curtain. That's real. He's earning money. He's earning more money for the household by doing these little performances. That's real. And then when you look at the other characters, yeah, you have hardworking parents, and because I think like three of the other members in the group are all in the same family. So you have that element, but they still live in the projects. You know what I'm saying? So things are hard. There's still gang life. You still have the antagonist and the dude Cadillac and his mom's, I forget what her name is, or I think they're supposed to be his mom's. And you still have Shaolin Fantastic trying to be the number one DJ while hustling on the side, putting guns in people's faces, transporting work. You know what I'm saying? And I felt it to be excellent that it kind of focused in on who are these characters in this world. Sure, this is the hip-hop version of Glee, but let's delve into the lives of these individuals, because in that first part, we kind of got a good look at the hip-hop, landscape, the Bronx, the political landscape, the musical landscape. We got a good look at that, but who are these characters? Now, I enjoyed the season because of the character development, period. What I didn't like is, and this kind of happened last time, there are times where there's certain flows, hip-hop, like I know hip-hop. This ain't just about me. I'm a fan, you a fan. I'm talking to you, listener. Leave your comments in the comment section. But there are times where I'm like, that's not a flow from 1978. Nobody was rhyming like that in 1977 or 78. Sorry, Rakim came and some of those flows were born from it. But pre-Rakim, I say it all the time, all you heard was like, if we could jump in a time machine, right? Let's jump in a time machine right now. We're going to go back to the Bronx around that time. We got to watch out so we don't get beat up because, the rules were different. But, we see a cypher on the streets. I can't come into the cypher with these new age bars. They might not even like them. Because remember, the grade for hip hop was totally different. I got to come into the cypher with the yes, yes, y'all. If you don't stop, it's Vegas World. I have to. Because that's what people were used to hearing. So when you're watching the Get Down and you're clearly hearing a couple of flows, that's like, that's kind of a 90s flow right there. That's not necessarily, 1978, but it's, I enjoyed it, so I gave it a pass. The other thing I didn't like was it felt like Marlene, the disco queen, got way too much shine when this, and I say that only to say, I get the actress, well, maybe her agent is mean and all of that. He got her what she needed. But I think she got too much shine in this season as an artist performing in a dying art form. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't necessarily just about disco dying. It was more about, her struggles with the record deal. But the name of the show is The Get Down, and The Get Down is about an element of hip hop. And there's a group called the Get Down Brothers. Why are we watching so much of the disco queen? I get her family dynamic. I get the spotlight on the record industry. And maybe they're setting up something. I don't know. But I felt like it was just a little bit too much of her, you know what I'm saying, in the disco side. So that was one thing I was kind of like, I don't know. And it kind of ended with her almost, where I was like, yo, man, you can't end like that. Like, end it where it ends. And the other thing was she performed a record in a club that clearly didn't sound like a disco record. It didn't even sound like a pop record from 1978. You know what it sounded like? Katy Perry. Or somebody from today. You know what I'm saying? Taylor Swift or something. So I was kind of... I almost didn't like that because I felt like there was an urge to do what Empire does and says, you like these numbers you heard in this series? Well, you can go out and get the CD today. Why can't you go out and do that anyway and just have it be a disco record that sounds good? Or like old school hip hop records that just sound good and you like them because you saw it in the context of the program. Why not just keep it authentic in that regard? So hopefully that's not, a sign of things to come. And lastly, the only other thing I didn't like, and trust me, the things I don't like didn't outweigh the things I did like. But the shadowy Nas voice cat, come on, man, can we do away with that? Can we do away with that? Either have Nas rhyming and show us imagery, even if it's animated. But the dude with the shades and the darkness, with the Nas voice, who's supposed to be the main character, Ezekiel, grown up. Come on, man, chill. Those are levels. Those are Dolomite levels you're reaching with the cheesiness of it. I love the intros, but I hate that part of the intros. So hopefully they move on from that and they do something a little bit better, because I know I believe they're gonna jump in time. So the Get Down, part 2, I almost said season 2, part 2. I think it's a go. I think you should check it out. I enjoyed it for what it was, but please realize that it's more about character development this time around. And lastly, for this podcast, I want to talk about a rap battle that it took me a minute to watch it, but I had to watch it because one of my favorite battle rappers was in it, which is the dude Av. This is Av versus O-Red. I believe it was supposed to happen at, it's Smack URL, but I can't remember which event it was. It wasn't Gnome. I think it was Born Legacy 5 or something like that. I watched the battle. I'm just give you my score right now. Okay, maybe my score is a little debatable. It's either 3-0 Av or 2-1 Av. Now, I know I just prefaced that by saying Av is my favorite. Not favorite overall, but one of my favorites in battle rap. I just felt that Av is the type of battle rapper I like to see. He has bars, he has intensity, he has flows, and he doesn't stand by to wait for your approval of his lines. I think O-Red just does that way too much. He wants the audience to react way too much. He's looking for the audience to give him the momentum instead of creating the momentum, controlling the crowd. Av goes, and there are times he'll repeat himself, but he's not stuck on the lines. You know what I'm saying? He's not playing to the crowd as much as O-Red was. First round, I thought Av got him, even though I thought O-Red put up a decent round. But I felt like with O-Red's rhymes, some lines were dope. Some lines really, he was saying some hard stuff. You know what I'm saying? Pause. But I felt like there were also lines where he just had lines that made sense, and he wanted like this huge reaction out of them. And I didn't feel like that wasn't warranted. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like he was cheapening his own lines, even the lines that were dope. He was looking for that one person to be like, ooh, and then he would pause just to acknowledge that, like, word, see, blah, blah, blah. Like, yo, keep going. So I gave the first round to Av. Second round is the debatable round, because I felt like O-Red was in his bag in that one. And he was saying stuff that I didn't catch initially. And then when he would repeat himself, because, sometimes you got to do that. I was like, now that's a line. That line has different levels. But the problem to me was it didn't happen enough throughout the verse. You know what I'm saying? There were a lot of also forgettable bars surrounded these really tight, executed schemes. And I felt like O-Red had stuff for him. He had stuff for him. He had stuff that was relatable to the battle that was happening right then and there, which, made it difficult. And in the third round, it was all Av, because Av continued with his consistency of dope bars and just unloading. And, even though the crowd didn't react to everything, I think he was still saying a lot. And O-Red, I thought he was going to come with something crazy, but then he forgot his bars. And there was a long, awkward moment of time there. So, 3-0 Av, 2 in a debatable Av. That's how I feel. Av versus O-Red. URL Smack TV. You can check it out on YouTube. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's going to do it for me for this week. You can follow me on social media at Vegas World INC. Please remember that this podcast is available and you can subscribe on iTunes Podcast, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, Podbean, SoundCloud.com/hiphoppolitic, where the hop and the politic share the P, and right here on Death Star Radio on DSR.FM. Remember, I am not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace. Drop it on the random.